Hello, everybody. I'm John Gallus. I'm the Executive Director of the Carolina World Trade Association, and I'm happy to have you join us today. I think it's important, especially at the end of this pandemic year and the beginning of a new year, to think aggressively about how we can maintain the strong financial position of the United States in our global marketplace. And one way to do that is to coax our companies within the United States to engage in international trade. You would be pleased to know that there are really unlimited possibilities for companies. Only about 16% of the US GDP is left for US exports. When you compare that with countries like Germany, where 50% of what they produce, nearly 50% of what they produce are exports, they demonstrate that we have a long ways to go to become a significant player in the global marketplace. So I'm hoping that our organization will be a leader in that regard and spur some real growth in that direction. The 3 points I try to make consistently are that 80% of world purchasing power by businesses is outside the borders of the United States. 92% of economic growth appears outside the borders of the United States. And then the last point is that 95% of consumers are outside the borders of the United States. So we've got a long ways to go to take full advantage of the global marketplace. While we may have been leading in that direction, we've got a long ways to go to take full advantage of that. One way to do that is to avail ourselves of the resources that are right there in front of us, provided by the federal government and the state government. In this case, it's the SBA is offering a program through the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, the EDPNC. And we're happy to have with us today Blake Jackman. Blake is an international trade manager for export assistance at EDPNC. He provides counseling in the aerospace, automotive, energy, and outdoor industries. With 14 years of international business experience, he's participated in over 100 different trade missions, trade shows, and conferences, and has been a speaker at many of those on the national and international level. Blake also happens to have a relationship with our organization. He's the president of a partner chapter of the North Carolina World Trade Association, the Research Triangle chapter, and is also on the board of the British American Business Council Triangle chapter. So we've got a lot in common with Blake. Blake came to EDPNC after being with Bass Industries, where he was a vice president in charge of operations, sales, and procurement. His previous experience includes working with the NC Department of Commerce, Farrell's Law International Private Equity Investment Division, boy, that's a long title, and for the Argentine Chinese Chamber of Commerce in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Blake is fluent in both Spanish and proficient in Mandarin, although I don't think he'll be using either of those in our presentation today. Meet Blake Jackman. Blake,
John,
it's all yours.
Hey. Good afternoon, everybody. And John, thank you very much for the welcome and for your leadership at the Carolina World Trade Association over in Charlotte. It's definitely very appreciated. Great to see everybody on the call today. I'd like to thank you very much for joining. We have some big changes that we've made to the STEP program for this year and technically for this year. So last year and then this year, and I'll get into that in a minute. Like John said, I am one of the international trade managers at EDPNC. We assist companies throughout North Carolina to be able to enter into foreign markets. Some of that way is one of the biggest, easiest ways is through our international offices, where we have 7 located around the world. We just opened up an office in Singapore that is to cater to the Southeast Asian, the ASEAN market. And so that's going to include Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, so on and so forth. There's about 11 countries that we can assist now in that side of the country, in that part of the world. And that is not only for exports, but if you're looking to, or if companies that you work with are looking to move their manufacturing facilities outside of China and want to look for something else in Asia, our offices will be able to assist with that as well. So that's a new capability that we haven't really had before, but we're really excited about that. We focus normally on exports, but that's something that's going to help with companies being able to shift their production lines to get a cheaper product for the domestic and international markets. I'm going to share my screen here and dive into the STEP program. And give me one moment. There we go. All right. Can everybody see the screen or my slide, first slide?
Yes.
Thank you, John. All right, so this is just another. So this is who the EDPNC is. Our mission is to advance North Carolina's economic interests through job creation, capital investments driven by new business, recruitment, existing business expansion, international trade, and small business formation and tourism. We were put into by Governor McCrory and the General Legislature about 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, and we now are fully immersed and connected with North Carolina Department of Commerce still. We're looking forward to the new Commerce Secretary. Tony Copeland announced that he will be retiring at the end of this month. So we are excited for somebody new, sad to see him leave, but looking forward to the future and what it can bring to us. This is the team. Jen Vogelsberg to your left, up top left, is the STEP grant manager. She handles all applications, runs everything, and verifies everything through the SBA, and is able to answer any questions along with myself about what the STEP program entails, whether it's something's going to be eligible or not, and we will go through there. Everybody else is a trade manager. We have Mike Hubbard as the director in the center, and then Glenn, Michael Cole, Liz Isley, and Claude Poisson round out the team of international trade managers. And we go normally in a typical year, we go to about 35 to 40 trade shows. And for us to be sitting around in our home offices, not on planes for 15 hours a day, it's kind of a new world. But we're definitely excited to get back into the international trade show market. Hopefully June, July. That's when most shows are being postponed towards, but now starting to move forward. But let's get into STEP. So STEP is, like John said, it's a small business administration grant program that they give to states to be able to administer to companies throughout their state. Different states have different programs, and it's not a cookie cutter. Some states only focus on a handful of companies to assist, and then get a bigger ROI to report back. We like to spread the wealth out in North Carolina. We have it as a first come, first serve basis. We have different programs that will fit many different companies and what they're looking for, whether that be for trade show travel, trade show booth, marketing, assistance, translations, website. We have a lot of different programs now that we can offer through the STEP. So it is a reimbursement program, first off and foremost. So you would have to apply for the STEP grant through us, send over the materials that you would like to have approved along with cost estimates, and then we sign off on it, and then you can move forward. And if you don't apply with us first and then you move forward and then come back to retroactively try to apply, then unfortunately you would not be, that won't qualify. But with that said, so the STEP program is aimed at providing assistance and guidance to eligible small businesses to increase their numbers of firms that export, but also the dollar values that small business exports. So STEP grant is there to do exactly what it said: increase export sales. We want to be able to make sure companies can offset a lot of their downturn in the domestic market with international sales. So if you have a 10% drop here, but you have a 15% export sales, you're going to be fine. Obviously, your sales won't be as high, but you'll be very stable. Eligible companies. So that's one of the main things that we want to be able to try to convey is that eligible companies need to learn how to export. That's what STEP's there. We have our export education programs that will bring in speakers to discuss the best practices for international documentation, determining your HTS code, your Schedule B code, Incoterms. Do you know all the Incoterms? They just changed in 2020. We're here to help you navigate that. USMCA, we've had a couple webinars about that, the changes that have occurred to USMCA from NAFTA. And so that's what it's there for. So STEP has also been provided, 47 states throughout the country apply for STEP and have been awarded it. So that's something that is really awesome to see. It used to not be as many companies, states apply, but now there's plenty. Let's move on to the next slide here. All right. So this year, like I was saying earlier, STEP we're running 2 years in the same program here. Due to COVID, obviously, we've had many issues with not being able to use all the funding that we were given. And so the SBA had extended last year's program to go through September 29th of 2021. And that is for the same as the current STEP year that we're in, STEP year 9. So that started October 1st and runs through September 29, 2021. And in these years, it used to only be, we would offer a few $1,000s to just offset your cost of travel to a trade show and then booth, or a couple grand for translations. Now we have changed it entirely. So I'll get to that in a minute, but how do you make sure that you qualify or you're eligible for the STEP program? These are the criteria that you must meet. You must be organized and incorporated in the United States and registered to do business in North Carolina. So if your company is registered in, say, Delaware, you can, but you're registered on the Secretary of State's website here in North Carolina as a business in North Carolina, paying your North Carolina taxes, you are eligible for the STEP program. Operating in the US, unfortunately, you can't have your operations overseas and then just have an office here. You would have to have some sort of footprints here in the US. By office, I mean a one-person office that's being a sales recruiter or a salesman. The size standards to be eligible for STEP, one of the easiest ways to determine if you're going to be eligible by size would be 500 employees or less. That's basically the rule of thumb for the SBA. It's some companies it's up to 1,500, but that gets nitty gritty and we can get into those weeds if we need to. But I've shared the PowerPoint presentation, a PDF version with John that he'll be sending out to you all. And you can then click on that click here for more information section to see what size the company would be. And that's determined by your NAICS code, North American International. I can't remember what it is, but it's basically just determining your industry and size of company. The company has to have been in business for at least 1 year, and it has to be sufficient. You have to understand that this is a reimbursement program. You have to be able to upfront the costs, and then we will reimburse you within a couple weeks to a month after you return from the events or after the completion of the project. So the process. All companies are initially paired with an international trade manager, myself or one of my colleagues. We have to consult with you, kind of make sure that you are export ready. Some companies, they love the idea of exporting, but they've never done it. They're not really sure of anything. And so we're happy to help you with that, but we just will understand that you're not to the level where you need to be. Then you have to apply for the app. That's the first step before you do anything. You're thinking about it, sweet, let's go ahead, let's apply for this grant money, this reimbursement program, and then we can make sure that it's approved and then move forward. Once it is approved, the company complete the activity, including paying for it. Upon completion, the companies will submit a reimbursement and provide feedback. One of the things, we don't ask for money or anything of that nature for our services or programs. This is all free of charge to North Carolina companies, but we do ask that you fill out a short survey. If you go to a trade show, did you have any sales? Did you have any floor leads? What are your potential sales? Things of that nature. We need to get a ROI on the investment that we've put into offering you the grant money. And that's just also for STEP, and that helps us determine better ways to use the money in the future. The post-activity survey comes about a year, 3/4 or a year later, and that's going to be a little more extensive, maybe 10, 12 questions. But that's essentially the process of how to apply for STEP and then when to be able to be reimbursed.
Blake, may I ask a question here?
Sure.
Is there any kind of timeline for these applications? Can they occur anywhere in the course of a year?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any deadlines that people need to know about?
Yes, so obviously apply beforehand, and the activity must take place within that time period of September 30th or October 1st through the September 29th. If it falls outside of that, then you'll have to come back and reapply for the following years. Other than that, the timeline is, the sooner you get it into us, the better, because like I said earlier, it's a first come, first serve. The money becomes earmarked for you and your project, and that will be earmarked and dedicated to you. So there's nobody going to be able to tap into that money. But
so there is a commitment before they might actually take part in an event or a trade show of one sort or another.
Yes, and that's just a written commitment that this is what you're looking to do. If you decide not to go forward with that, let us know as soon as possible so we can release that money and then be able to offer it to another company that's in the waiting line. Sometimes towards the end of the year, around August, we'll get some people that are applying for shows mid-September, and at that time they'll just have to be waitlisted to see if there is money that's left over. But always apply as early and as soon as possible, just so you can guarantee that money for you. If you come with a plan of knowing your entire year's trade show activity and what you're going to be doing, that's even better. But yeah, but you can always apply at any time. But just, I would say, if it's later in the STEP program year, reach out to me or Jen or one of my colleagues, and we will check and see if there's money, if you'll be on a waiting list, what the chances are likely of you actually receiving it before you have to go through and fill out the application.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so now we get to the fun stuff. So as you've been seeing, these are the pots of money that are available. It's up to $24,000 now per program year. So you could tap into STEP year 8, exhaust those funds, and then tap into STEP year 9, and essentially have $48,000 to spend this year, which is amazing to me and to our group, is that we're able to offer this kind of money. So the booth and registration fees for a trade show and trade missions, that's up to $5,000. And I'll go into a deeper explanation of each one of these categories. Travel and eligible trade shows or trade missions up to $3,000. And that's going to include just your airfare and lodging for 2 full-time company employees. E-commerce and website localization for international markets up to $10,000. Export services and marketing media. You're going to a trade show, you want to do some social media marketing that's targeting that international office, $6,000 can help offset that cost to do that. And then the export education webinars held by EDPNC. Those are free to join. You just need to apply for STEP, and then you'll be able to join that. SBA needs to make sure that you are going to be STEP eligible, but if not, that's not a problem. We can work around that with other grants. So the booth and registration fees for trade shows and trade missions up to $5,000. So this is for both in-person or virtual now. The registration for internationally held trade show, registration for domestic trade shows with an international focus. That is something new, obviously, because of COVID. We know not everybody can travel internationally. We're not allowed to travel to certain countries. A lot of people can't come here, but there are still some countries that companies can, or that are allowed into the US, and there are some in-person shows that are still going on. And for those domestic trade shows, it has to have some sort of international focus. There's boat shows down in Florida. that I know. They have a lot of South American reps and Caribbean reps that either live in Miami or come up here for that, are able to come in, travel back and forth. So if it is a domestic trade show with an international focus, let us know, apply. We'll determine beforehand if it's eligible. But for the most part, a lot of the shows here in the US have a significant enough international focus. Like I said, virtual booths and participation in registration fees qualified for qualifying trade missions. That's all something that this 5,000 can go towards. And sponsorships that enhance a company's presence while exhibiting. So that's going to be more on the marketing side of it. But if you are going to be having any extra at the trade show or a virtual trade show, if you're going to have any extra kind of sponsorship packages that you can jump into and tap into, if that $5,000 isn't exhausted for the trade show, the cost of the registration or the booth, then you would be able to use it for that. Travel to eligible trade show and trade missions up to $3,000. So this, in the past, you were not able to use the booth registration and the travel for the same trade event. It had to be separate events to be able to tap into one or the other, but now you can actually use them for the same event. So not only can you have the $5,000 to offset the cost of the booth, but the $3,000 to offset the cost of airfare and lodging. Lodging is limited to the per diem of the country that you're going to. The State Department has a federal per diem rate for international markets. It's very generous. In some markets, I think in Paris, it's $400 a night. So if you're willing to pay for that kind of hotel room, then STEP is able to pay up to that amount, but that's determined by the federal per diem rate by the Department of State. And then you have, for flights, it has to adhere by the Fly America Act. The Fly America Act is you must purchase a ticket on an American carrier, so American Airlines, Delta, JetBlue, and then that ticket has to be purchased through them, even if it is with other American Airlines over to London, BA, British Airways down to Dubai. That, as long as it's all bought through American Airlines, not a problem. And then it has, with the Fly America Act, you have to buy an economy class ticket. If you upgrade after the fact, use miles, whatever you may do after the fact, that's fine, but the original ticket purchase will only be what is reimbursable of the economy. In person, yes. So one of the things is you can't be using this money for travel to just go to, say, a business meeting overseas or walk the show at a conference. You have to have some skin in the game by having an actual booth and an actual physical presence that is able to be verified. It's taxpayer dollars, so they want to make sure that everybody is above water as far as being honest with what they're doing. All right, e-commerce and website. So the design and creation of a website with an international focus. That's website localization. Obviously, most companies here have their own website, and then you want to, but that's on a .com domain name. That's for the US market. That's going to be found in Google USA. You'll be in the top search results versus Google Canada. You'll be on page 10 if you're going to be searched as a US company. Not many people go to page 10 on Google. I don't think I ever have, unless I intentionally try to keep going to see how far down other companies were being shown. But that is something that the website localization makes it where you're going to have a .co.uk or a .ca. That's going to change your domain name. That's going to change the wordings, the findable, the searchable hashtag keywords that you want to have searched to be able to pop up, so you are going to be identified. It's normally the work is done by somebody in the country or somebody that has knowledge of the country. What's the cultural norms? What is acceptable to be seen? Obviously, in the Middle East, you will not want anything that's going to show too much skin, alcohol, or any other kind of illicit anything. So you have to know what's going on in that part of the world, and you have to work with somebody that's going to know that. The translations of the content, making sure that it's translated, even with English. British English is not American English. We don't use the same words for garbage, for rubbish, trash. It's all very different, and it really helps improve your website presence and your web presence if you have the words and the key phrases that are for that specific market. Search engine optimization for foreign markets. Google has 180 or 190 different Google sites. So every country basically has their own Google, and you're not always going to be found in that country's Google. So it really helps to have that search engine optimization for those foreign markets. Fees to set up a website, fees for e-commerce. Are you going to have a shopping cart? Are you going to be able to sell some items online? A lot of people are surprised, but B2B is really big with online e-commerce. A lot of people would just rather go, instead of call up, talk to Susie Q or Tommy Joe, whoever it may be that they're normally talking to. They just want to go a couple clicks, buy it. They have their accounts in there, and everything's already known, and it just makes it a lot easier.
Let me throw an example at you. Say there's a law firm in Charlotte that is setting up an international arbitration section within their company, and they want to, that's not on their current website, but they'd like to set that up. They might even have a certified global business professional working at that firm. Is that the kind of thing that would qualify for this $10,000 payment? So,
unfortunately, no. And the main reason why is because of the type of organization you specifically said, law firm. Service providers, logistics companies, law firms, accounting firms, unfortunately, they're not eligible for the STEP program.
Are they specifically written out, or are they are specifically written out? Okay.
Yeah, we work like Steve, we work with a lot of logistics company, and because they're not shipping their own goods, they're shipping somebody else's goods, it's not considered a export for them, according to the SBA. And that's just something that the SBA has basically just said those types of service providers are unfortunately ineligible.
Thank you.
So Blake, this is Mike Hawley. I can tell you that Micah and I were not disappointed by that answer. We suspected that law firms were, I'm a lawyer, Micah is as well. We suspected that was the case. So Micah, I guess no exotic boondoggles for us. But I guess it begs the question, Blake, of, our economy, since I've moved to Charlotte, has changed considerably. And I think this is true generally in the state, with the obvious exceptions, but we're becoming a service economy. Yeah. And I guess the issue is, a lot of programs have been set up based on models that are sometimes no longer relevant or applicable. And I guess the question is, how are these tailored to the kinds of clients that Micah and I work with, so that, that are in the service sector, so that we can potentially look for opportunities for them and opportunities for you?
Yeah, so some of the ways are attending our export education events. That's a great way to network with some of the clients that we have that attend there. Some of our just other members, other partners and throughout the state, the other partner organizations. We all have something for everybody. It's just our normal traditional services, we can assist anybody in every company. It's just the SBA is the one thing that stipulates that they kind of wanted to go to products that are going to increase physical sales. But I do have to say, I work with companies that are in the music industry and they have record labels. They're not selling CDs. Well, they're selling vinyl now. Surprisingly, vinyl LPs are coming back in a big way, and they're selling a lot of that traditional folk North Carolina music to the world. And so it's not a traditional export by a physical means as far as an actual manufactured good, but it's just a new way of selling to online, essentially through just digital media, digital marketing.
I will jump in here and say thank you for that question, Mike. In the new version of CWTA to be put forward in 2021, there is a section focused on advocacy, and it might be wise for us to encourage a change in SBA regulations that would open the door to more service-oriented activities. The organization of the SBA started with a real focus on manufacturing, but because of the concentration in the US on service-oriented businesses, that might be a significant update that we could add to the priorities for putting changes in law forward to our federal government.
Yep. It used to be where as long as you were invoicing a foreign country or a client in a foreign country, then you should be eligible for STEP. I think that's changed in the past year or so. I'll have to double check that, Mike, and I'll come back with an answer of if that has changed. But if you are going to be doing work with, or say arbitration work between a foreign entity outside of the US and Latin America and somebody here, and you're representing that foreign entity, then obviously you are exporting your sales, your services. So I'll double check on that for you, and then I'll get back to you, sir.
Yeah, and just to kind of set the perspective a bit, what Micah and I do a lot of is try to help you guys do your job better. That's our job. We practice law, but on the other hand, we know a lot of people, we see a lot of things, we see a lot of opportunities, and part of what we do as lawyers is make sure our clients are aware of stuff. So, this is not really focused on us and what we do as much as who we know, who we work with, who we need to kind of make aware of the fact that there are programs out there that will help you generate business with international companies, other international companies. And, to the extent that we can sell that product, it helps all of us because it attracts business, incoming business as well as outgoing work. And so, I think John's got the right approach there that, we need to re-educate sometimes the governmental sector as to exactly what people like Micah and I see out there. And I suspect it doesn't matter too much, or it shouldn't matter too much, how money is generated, as long as it is it's repatriated to North Carolina. And so that's the key, I think. And if there's an expansive view of this, and just as you described in the music industry, for instance, who would think that you could export something like that? There's probably a bunch of other consultants who are, that actually do work in the area, and I'm thinking just John off the top of my head, about East West Associates, for instance. They generate lots of income, I'm sure, from foreign companies. And, it all comes back to North Carolina. It all helps us. Thanks.
And that's one of the things that we love being able to speak to organizations like yourselves and the association and their members. So that's where me being part of the Research Triangle, the president of the Research Triangle chapter, I'm here to help companies, and I just want to spread the word. And by being the president of the chapter, or by just going to more networking meetings, spreading the word that this is available for companies, it's free of charge, it's your taxpayer money coming back to you. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. It's not always going to be there, so tap into it when you can. All right, let's go to the next one. So this one, let's see. There we go. All right, so $6,000 for export services and marketing media. So with our export partners, that being the U.S. Commercial Service, the SBTDC, the other state local NC Port Authority, any of those other organizations that we work with, the U.S. Ag, they have certain programs that cost money. If you're going to do a gold key service with the U.S. Commercial Service, that is basically a distributor or partner search in a foreign market, they charge you around $950 for a small business. The STEP grant can offset that cost, or any of the other services. The SBTDC has a boot camp, an export boot camp that they put on. It's about a 3-day, couple $100, really intense training program of how to increase your export sales, go through all of what you're going to be, the pitfalls, the peaks, the valleys, it all. But that costs money as well, and that's where STEP can come in to pay for that. Translations of your marketing materials, including your video, PowerPoints, brochures, all of that can be done with the $6,000. Social media ads aimed at foreign markets. A lot of companies that I work with are also in the outdoor rec industry, and they use influencers. Influencers are people from one company, they sell pads for horse saddles, and they get all the riders over in Europe and the UK that are very popular, have big social media followings, and they team up with them to help push their goods, and or just talk about it on a social media post. So that's something that is really big in that industry, but it is big in all industries essentially, and it's something that STEP can pay for. Push notifications at trade shows. If you've ever gone to a trade show and you put your cell phone in, you'll get notifications of, hey, this company's having a networking happy hour over here, join there, or this one's giving away something. That's what that would fall under. Talked about the commercial services programs, registration fees for the boot camps, and those down below that, I don't know if my screen is marketing, is hiding it. That is a little list of the different export education programs that we're going to be putting on through the rest, or through the first couple months of next year. And you can find all of those at our website, edpnc.com // it's coming up, but under edpnc.com. These are the other ones. We're going to have an HTS Schedule B classification export education seminar. Normally we do these in person, and it's a full 8 hours of a day that you'll be in training, but obviously we can't do that, so we're going to be doing it online virtually. And we have Mike Alaka, who is one of the, I would say, premier. The guy is extremely knowledgeable on what he does on about anything international as far as exports, imports. He's been in the business for 25 plus years doing it, and stepped away from being in the logistics side of it all and policy side of it all to then go out to do his own business of consulting. But we bring him in, export compliance 201, really in depth. If you're selling things not for ITAR, that's a whole different one, international trafficking in arms. Those are different educational programs that we put on, but these are just a couple of the new ones that we have coming up. And FAQs, before I dive into the FAQs here and go a little further, does anybody have any questions? Did companies ship vinyl records or digital files? Both. Mark, they ship both. So they have their own, they're actually making the vinyl here in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and they are then going to be, they export it. They bought a couple machines from Poland, because I think that's where a lot of the vinyl making went to, but now they brought it all back here. So it's really, yeah, it's really cool. It's a very impressive company to be working with. Something neat.
Blake, both of these, you know, it doesn't have to be a physical item that you're exporting. It could be a service or like I said, a digital file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, so let's dive into the FAQs. I'm not sure if you can see. Oh, we got one more chat. Yes, definitely, Steve. John is going to put it. He's recording it, so he's going to be able to share that with everybody. And then please put it on ours as well. It's the state one. So the FAQs. So what types of website projects qualify? So like, yeah, it must make your website more accessible or usable for an international buyer. So localizing it to a different country, making it with changing the metrics or from metrics or imperial to metric measurements and all of that, currencies. Can I use STEP for more than one trade show? Yes. This time it's not a one and done kind of thing. So if you do not exhaust that full $5,000, you can then come back and try to use the rest of that. We're earmarking that amount of money for you, not up until whatever you use. So you can come back and try to tap into for more. Can I use any vendor for a website and translation products? Yes, but they have to be US based. It is US taxpayer dollars that are being used. So we want the money to stay within the US. And obviously we prefer North Carolina, but we obviously know that not everybody has somebody here in North Carolina that they feel comfortable with. So, and if you do have any questions about any providers in North Carolina, we can provide a list. There we go. How can I learn more about website SEO and localization? Reach out to one of the international trade managers like myself. We have a couple, we partnered with a company called IBT Online, International Business and Technology Online. They are working currently with 22 other state organizations, international trade divisions like ours, and they provide a very good quality product. I'm very impressed with every meeting that I have with the president of the company, John Worthington, and it's very, they're really good. They got a good team, and it's a great product. Very modern, sleek, up to date, the finished product of the websites. And so I can send links, or you can find links to those presentations online if you want to learn more about that. Is feedback I share with you confidential, including my reported export sales dollars? Yes, 100% confidential. We don't sign an NDA or anything like that, but everything that you report to us is privileged and confidential unless you express differently. Sometimes we'll come for a success story. That's one of the best ways to be able to share with other companies how we are benefiting everybody. So through success stories is one of the greatest ways. One of the only ways that we do ask, one of the only things that we do ask for instead of payment for the services is report your export dollars sales for the year and those markets. And that's where that stays 100% confidential within our system, and it will be shared as an aggregate. Last year, I believe we worked with 570 companies, and we reported of those 570 companies we work with, they reported a billion plus in export sales. So that's how it gets reported. Can you use the travel and booth funds for the same trade show? Yes, already covered that. That's something new. Can I apply for every funding category? Yes, you can. $24,000 is available. Use it or it goes away, but we're hoping that we'll have the same program available again in October 1st of 2021 going through September 29th of 2022. Can I apply for an event or a project that has already happened? No. It has to be done prior to signing a contract prior to any payments, or, well, excuse me, scratch that. Trade shows. If you're going to be getting a trade show booth, yes, you can apply and get that trade show booth, and then come and ask us for, if it's a show you've already been to, then we already know that it's going to be good, international show, then come and you can get that. That would not be a problem. Oh, and that is it for the overall Q&A. Does anybody have any questions, or the FAQs? Does anybody have any questions at the moment?
Blake, I do have a question. This kind of goes back to what Mike Hawley had mentioned. We do get questions from our clients often about what's available and what's out there. And one of the kind of themes of questions I've been getting has to do with whether people are actually traveling to trade shows during the COVID issues. Does your office provide information as to which ones are being provided, virtually, or whether people are traveling in person? I mean, there's also government restrictions for U.S. citizens going to some of them. So is that something that your office has available?
That's something we could find out for you, definitely. I don't think we have a list of that available just offhand, but that's something that me having to determine if all the shows that I was going to go to, one just got canceled that I was supposed to be going to in Mexico in April. And I know Mexico is not doing as well, but they're open to the US to go in there. Paris was another one that we were going to be going to, and I was being told that there's going to be special considerations for business travelers going to that trade show to be allowed in, and then they canceled the show entirely. So it's changing every day. It's very fluid, but that's definitely something that we would be more than happy to look in and search for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let me jump in here at this point and say thank you, Blake, for the work you've done in preparing for this program and for presenting it to us. I want everybody to know that we will have other webinars in the future. On the 22nd of December, we're going to be hosting Dan Holt from the SBA, who's actually going to speak about SBA trade financing programs, where you can borrow up to $5 million that would be guaranteed by the SBA. That would assist your bank in lending that to you. We also have some other opportunities. We've been talking with the folks at IBT, who Blake mentioned. They may be willing to put on a webinar for us either before the end of the year or early into the new year. We've had some discussions with them. We also can anticipate that there may be more COVID relief funds coming if Congress chooses to act soon. And again, if that happens before the 22nd, there's no one better than Dan Holt to tell you about the opportunity for those funds for your business or for your client's business. He really is an expert at that and can ease the pathway for you to get some of that funding.
He's a very entertaining speaker. Very entertaining.
He's a great guy. He's got good stories to tell, but his personal experience with the SBA and with all of his clients is quite remarkable. And he can talk about just about every question you might ask from his own experience at the SBA. We appreciate your participation in this today and hope that you'll continue to participate in more of the programs. We will be coming out with a full calendar of programs for 2021. We're likely to continue to do them virtually through the first half of the year, depending on how rapidly people get vaccinated and how quickly we can all come back together and network once again. But we're pleased to work with you as the Carolina World Trade Association, serving the greater Charlotte region, covering both North and South Carolina. I've spoken with someone today about another board member coming from South Carolina. we spoke to one a couple weeks ago that both Mike and Micah know about. Sam Hines is talking about coming on board. And in the background is my new puppy deciding to make noise, so I apologize for that. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and hope to see you on the next event soon. Thanks, Blake. Take care.
Thank you, John, very much.
Thank you, John. Merry Christmas.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Bye, Blake.
Cheers.
Mark, take care. I hope your mother's okay.
Yeah, right now we haven't gotten all of the word back, but I think it's going to be okay. Thank you, John.
Good.
Take care of that dog.
Good.
Talk to you soon.
God bless you. Take care.
Bye, sir.